It's really hard to believe that we are almost in Q4 of 2025. Where has the year gone? It's just absolutely blown by. And this year has been a pretty big disappointment for the most part. But I will say we've made a lot of progress. We've made major steps forward in Embrace. And we could have a very exciting close to the year. In fact, there is an analyst expecting a biblical rally for XRP here to close out the year. I want to talk about that with you guys, as well as just a few other things. Another big custody announcement for XRP as well. So if you guys are new or haven't already, show your support for the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button, that bell. It's free to do. It'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So it's right now just a little bit after 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. We're starting to see U.S. money wake up, and they have started to move the charts in continuity again with overseas money. Maybe this is a trend that continues as the day progresses. We'll have to watch, wait, and see what happens. And I will say again, the big days for the week where we're going to see a lot of volatility, a lot of movements in the charts are going to be tomorrow and Thursday. PPI report, CPI report, expect volatility, expect very high volume those days. But right now, the bulls have kind of been taking over the market. And that's not really surprising because we got to a point where most of the sellers were pretty well exhausted. You can eventually get to a point where conviction is just so high that there's really only one direction that you can go, and that's to the upside. Now, obviously, there's no guarantees. I'm not saying this is always going to be the case. There will be, profit taking and sell-offs along the way. That's not going to be a surprising thing at all, at least to me. And I will say right now, XRP is actually sitting just about at its 7.0 line, which has formed a little bit of resistance here in the past. But if we can get some push as we get through the middle of the week in the markets, you could once again see XRP targeting this 786 line on the way again towards a new all-time high, which is very exciting, like we talked about yesterday. But there are some pretty exciting things that could in fact be taking us to new highs as the year progresses. And I'll get to that in just a moment here. But I did want to announce a big thing that took place for Ripple this morning, or a big announcement that took place. They said they're expanding their partnership with BBVA, bringing their institutional grade digital asset custody technology to Spain. BBVA is responding to growing customer demand for crypto assets, and Ripple is providing a secure and compliant custody solution. So we're seeing Ripple take big steps forward in custody, in real world asset tokenization, in cross-border payments. So again, it's like we've talked about, they're expanding into all these different sectors that they haven't necessarily been in before, which again increases the demand for XRP itself. So that is a very exciting step forward. It's kind of funny because on this announcement, from a few other sources, I saw people saying, "Oh, this is not happening. It's a lie." Blah blah blah. And there are still, this leads me to believe this: there are still so many people that are just parked on the sidelines that have not re-entered the market yet. That when things do actually start moving in a more aggressive way, the FOMO that we're going to see is absolutely insane. The leverage liquidations that we're going to see is going to be absolutely insane. In fact, we look at XRP on the futures front. I know we looked at this yesterday, but here we are again. 1.0 ratio. Open interest has increased by almost 5% over the last 24 hours. Getting very close to, is that an all-time high? No. We're getting very close to, again, a new all-time high in terms of open interest. So we're getting the exact recipe that we need to make some of these bigger extensions as the year progresses, and especially as we get into an aggressive Q4. Because again, remember, we're talking about rate cuts this month, more rate cuts as the year progresses. Embrace from the U.S. here when it comes to crypto. Remember, we have crypto legislation still going through the Senate in the Clarity Act. So there's a lot of things that can provide this big push. In fact, some people are expecting a biblical rally in Q4. And what's interesting is a lot of these projections are really starting to align. For example, this analyst JD expects XRP to embark on what he calls a biblical rally during the fourth quarter of 2025. This move could see XRP dominance level surges it has not seen in years. In fact, what they're talking about is a price near $8. Now, as you guys know or may not know, my projections for this market cycle have been between $8 to $12, and it really depends on, are we going to see this cycle end this year? Is it going to extend into next year? I've talked about many times an extended market cycle, and that would not surprise me by any stretch of the imagination. Now, the introduction of institutional money and now likelihood of even XRP spot ETF approvals here still in Q4. It can do some pretty incredible things. You're not going to see, for example, this says a warning of a 90% rug pull after the peak. We're probably not seeing these major retracements in terms of price. And I'm not saying it can't happen, but again, the more embrace you see from bigger players in the space, the more conviction you see, like we're seeing right now, the harder it is to move price to the downside. And then you get into the simple fact that there's not much to go around. In terms of XRP, in terms of other assets in the space, the longer periods of retracement and consolidation you have, the longer boring periods that exist, the more people are able to accumulate, especially long-term, forward-thinking people. They just buy and buy and buy and buy and buy, and they're just unwilling to unload at any of these prices. I bet you when it comes to XRP, there's not a lot of people that are willing to unload even in these ranges. That's not that much of a significant gain. And guys, we're still only at 5 to 6% of the world in crypto. And I think that that's one of the more exciting things about this is because retail has been lagging so hard. Just think about how big and exciting the boom can be when retail does actually begin to navigate back to the space. So that's all I got for you guys. I appreciate you as always. Let me know your thoughts. Are we going to see this major rally here in Q4? Is this going to extend us into 2026? So have a great day. Show your love below. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.